I wasn't ready to break up with him, but I knew I was this close. So a past version of myself used to need clarity right away. I needed that clarity. We want to pray to God, like, is this my husband? Before we've gone on the date, and we want God to tell us, yes, for sure, that is your husband. Sometimes God doesn't operate that way. Sometimes he does. But sometimes the answer is silence. Because, and here's the third part that I think a lot of people miss, and it's what sets people up to fail. So what does it mean to date with a kingdom mindset? First, I want to talk about what dating is not, because I find that when I talk about dating, people don't always have the same language for things. So I want to make sure that I'm very clear on what I mean when I say the word dating. Here's what dating is not. It's not doing activities together. It's not even spending time with someone. It's not having sex. So when I remember I had a reel that went viral last year where I talked about how I stopped dating one man at a time, and that helped me to meet my husband. And a lot of men in my comments were irate. They were like, well, who wants to be with a woman who's sleeping with all these different men? And I said, where did I say I was sleeping with anybody? I said I was dating. So like dating doesn't mean you're having sex, right? It could mean that, but it doesn't have to. And what dating is not is experiencing life together. So some people think because they're experiencing life with someone, it means that they're dating. That is not dating. When I say dating, I mean something very, very specific. When I say the word dating, I am talking about the intentional process of evaluating whether someone is your future spouse or not. No more, no less. So dating is the intentional process of evaluating whether someone is your future spouse or not. And you do this by spending time with someone and doing activities together. But you also need to ask questions of yourselves and each other that move you toward commitment or ending it. So part of why modern dating makes no sense is because some people treat dating as an end goal. Some people treat dating as doing activities together or spending time with someone or having sex or experiencing life. They're Netflix and chilling. And while women are hoping that maybe he'll propose to me, the man's good, because why does he have to move the relationship forward if he's already getting all the marriage benefits while he's dating you? And by dating, I use that term loosely because oftentimes it's a long talking stage with little actual dating, right? So to be abundantly clear, dating is the intentional process of evaluating whether someone is your future spouse, which means you will spend time with them, you will do activities together, but that's not the end goal. So our end goal is marriage, and you're either moving toward it or you're moving away from it. Dating is not the goal. Dating is the process to get you to the goal. So if somebody has this perspective of dating, doing activities together, having sex, experiencing life, if that's their perspective of dating, they're probably not going to be a good fit for you if you desire marriage. Because once he has these things, what reason does he have to get married, right? Our goal in dating is to evaluate, is this person my future spouse? So as I said, dating is not the goal. Dating is the transition period that you use to get to the goal. And especially if you're over 30. I can understand if you're like a teenager or like your early 20s and you're still kind of figuring things out or whatever. But after 30, at that point, especially if marriage is your goal, we have to be really more intentional about how we're dating. And it's not just about spending time with someone. Like, yes, you spend time with that person to get to know them, but every single day you should be evaluating, do I want to move toward marriage with this person or away from marriage with this person? So the purpose of dating is to figure out if this is the person that God wants you to marry. That is it. And oftentimes I get this question like, should I date this man? And there's only one question you need to ask yourself, and there's three possible answers that will tell you what to do. So the only question you're going to ask yourself is this the person that God has for me? That's all you need to know if you want to keep dating this person. When you know for sure that the answer is yes, this is the man that God has for me, marry them. When you know for sure the answer is yes. A lot of people get this part wrong because they claim to know for sure the answer is yes, but they still don't get married. They keep staying in that liminal space of dating and never move forward. Is this the person God has for me? When you know for sure the answer is no, stop dating them. And again, this is where a lot of people get this wrong because they know for sure, both men and women, they know for sure this is not my person, but they keep going anyway because they're afraid to say no, they're afraid to end the relationship, they're afraid of what's on the other side, they don't want to be single. And so they keep dating a person when they know for sure the answer is no. And this leads to a lot of toxic relationships. It leads to a lot of confusion, a lot of heartbreak. So ask yourself, the only thing you need to ask yourself, if you want to know, should I date this person, is Is this the person God has for me? If you know for sure the answer is yes, marry them. And when you know for sure the answer is no, stop dating them. And here's the third part that I think a lot of people miss, and it's what sets people up to fail. If you don't know for sure, keep dating them. Oftentimes, we won't even start dating somebody because we don't know for sure, so we don't give it a chance at all. So a guy is pursuing you, you don't really find him attractive, but you like some aspects of him, but you don't want to let him down and you don't want to marry him. So you're like, well, I don't know. So then you say no. But the whole purpose of dating is to figure out, if is this person the person that God has for me? Is this person my future spouse? That's the whole purpose of dating. So if you don't know, go on the date to find out. Go on the date and go out with them until you know for sure the answer is either no or yes. So a past version of myself used to need clarity right away. I needed that clarity. We want to pray to God, like, is this my husband? Before we've gone on the date, and we want God to tell us, yes, for sure, that is your husband. Sometimes God doesn't operate that way, right? Sometimes he does. But sometimes the answer is silence because you need to go on the date to find out. And this is what happened with me and my husband. Like, I had a sense that he might be my person. And even when I didn't know if he was my person or not. And because I'm the kind of person who needs clarity immediately, I just broke up with him when I should have just dated him to keep going and find out for sure. But even when we got back together and I was still kind of like, I think this is the person God has for me, but he's not a Christian yet. Should I keep dating him? A past version of me would have just broken up with him because I wanted certainty, not clarity. What I wanted was certainty. But sometimes dating is an uncertain space. And the only way to get that certainty is to go on the date. I had to keep dating my husband in order to know for sure. And so what I would do is I would text myself on a scale from 0 to 100, is he my person? 0 means he's definitely not, break up. 100 means he definitely is, get married. And at one point in our relationship, I texted myself 0.5 because this is when he said he was going to call me at 6 o'clock, and 6 o'clock came and went. He didn't call me. I wasn't ready to break up with him, but I knew I was this close. So I texted myself 0.5. So 0.5 meant keep dating him because I wasn't sure that the answer was no. Turns out he got robbed, which is why he didn't call me at 6. And thank God I didn't break up with him because of my need for certainty, right? So the only question you need to ask yourself when you're asking, should I keep dating this person or should I start, is, do I know for sure, is this the person that God has for me? If you know for sure the answer is no, like there's no chance this is your person, then you don't need to date them at all, right? But if you're kind of curious, you're like, I don't know, like he's okay. If the answer is not zero chance, and he's asking you on a date, just go on the date. That's the purpose of dating. And the reason why people won't even go on the date is because they're getting too attached too quickly. Committing to a first date doesn't mean that you have to marry the guy. Committing to a first date doesn't mean you have to go on a second date. Committing to a first date doesn't mean that you have to kiss him. We have to make choices based on the present moment instead of trying to predict the future. And I think that one of the reasons why people struggle with dating is they're trying to predict the future. They want to know, answer from God, lightning hitting a bush, whatever, like, is this my person or not? And you haven't gone on the date yet. The point I'm trying to make is, if you want to date with a kingdom mindset, if you don't know if he's your person, which for 99.99999% of people, you will not know until you date them, just go on the date and find out. If you go on the first date and you're like, oh, that's definitely not my person, then that's when you break up. If you go on the first date and you're like, okay, well, I don't know, go on the second date until you know for sure. That is the whole point of dating.